The bus rolled through the snow-covered valley as I pressed my forehead against the frosted window. My name is Elara Brooks, and this was the first Christmas I had come home in 4 years. I had promised myself I would never return after what happened the last time I was here, but revenge has a strange way of pulling you back to the places you hate most. The town looked the same: quiet streets, crooked lamp posts, and the smell of pine drifting from old chimneys. But something inside me was different. The fire that had gone cold in my heart was burning again, and this time, I wasn't the scared girl who had left with tears in her eyes. When the bus stopped near our old farmhouse, I stepped out into the biting air. The wooden porch creaked under my boots as I walked up to the door. The familiar wind chime, shaped like tiny bells, swayed gently, the same one my mother had hung there before she passed away. I took a deep breath and knocked. The door opened slowly. Standing there was Grandpa Walter, wrapped in his old wool coat. His face was thinner than I remembered, but his eyes, the same soft hazel, lit up the way they used to when I was a child. "Elara, you came," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I promised Mom I would," I replied quietly. The warmth of the house wrapped around me as I stepped inside. The smell of cinnamon and pine needles filled the air. Everything was almost the same, except quieter. There were no stockings hanging by the fireplace, no laughter echoing through the halls. Only Grandpa, sitting in his old rocking chair, and the ticking of the clock. "Where's Dad?" I asked after a few moments. Grandpa's hands tightened around his cup of tea. He looked at me, then at the window where snow was falling heavily. "Your father isn't here, Elara. But he left something for you." My stomach tightened. Grandpa reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an envelope. My name was written across it in my father's handwriting. Neat, sharp, and cold. I hesitated. The last time we spoke, I had shouted that I never wanted to see him again. He had accused me of betraying the family after I told the police about the deal he made. A deal that had ruined dozens of people's lives. He went to prison for it, and I left town. Now, 4 years later, he wanted to talk. I opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a single folded page. "Elara, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't come home this Christmas. I've done things I can't undo. I blamed you for what happened because it was easier than blaming myself. But there's something you should know about your mother's death. It wasn't what you were told. Grandpa knows everything. Ask him. And remember, the truth can hurt, but lies destroy." My heart pounded. "Grandpa, what does this mean?" He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Your father wasn't lying, child. Your mother didn't die from an illness. She died protecting you." The room spun around me. "Protecting me? From what?" Grandpa's eyes glistened. "From your father's business partner, Leon Granger. When your father wanted to pull out of that deal, Leon threatened to hurt you. Your mother tried to intervene, and he didn't stop." I felt my throat close. For years, I had hated my father, blamed him for everything, but this truth was worse. He wasn't just guilty of greed. He was broken by the same loss that had shattered me. The fire crackled as snow fell heavier outside. I clenched the letter in my hand, torn between grief and fury. "Where is Leon now?" I asked quietly. Grandpa's voice hardened. "Still in town. Owns half the land your father once did. Thinks he's untouchable." A slow, cold determination spread through me. Not for long. Grandpa didn't try to stop me. He just nodded, as if he had been waiting for this moment. That night, I walked through the snow to the Granger estate. The moonlight reflected off the frozen ground, casting long shadows. The house loomed ahead, tall and silent. I slipped through the gate, my breath fogging in the air. When I reached the porch, I saw the light on in his office. Leon sat inside, older but still sharp-eyed, talking on the phone. The same man who had smiled at me when I was a child, the same man who had destroyed my family. I pulled out the small recorder from my pocket. Grandpa had given it to me before I left. "You'll need this," he'd said. I pressed record, and stepped into the light. "Remember me, Mr. Granger?" His face paled. "Elara Brooks. You shouldn't be here." "I'm exactly where I need to be," I said. "And this time, you won't hide behind my father's name." He laughed nervously, but the tremor in his voice gave him away. "You have no proof of anything." I smiled coldly. "Not yet." Hours later, the police cars lit up the snow-covered road. The recording, his confession, was more than enough. When I returned home, Grandpa was waiting by the fire. I handed him the letter and said softly, "It's over." He smiled sadly. "No, child. It's finally beginning." Outside, the first light of Christmas morning glowed over the hills. For the first time in years, I felt peace. My revenge was never about destruction. It was about truth, and truth finally had come home.